Hey friends. I had an interesting day today. Um, I had an experience of coming back to music practice with my daughter after having had kind of a rough practice 2 days ago. And sometimes I swear to God, it's like I will do all this contemplation, thinking about the problem, reading about the problem, talking to people about what I see as the problem, and trying to figure it out and have and feel like I'm just no closer. And then in one moment, bam, I'll just do something that completely changes and reframes the problem. And it was so the thing that happened today felt it felt a little bit like a bolt from the blue. Like, I do not know where I got the idea to do this. I was truly so something that I've learned um, by reading Edmund Sprunger's book. It's called, oh Lord, what is it called? Helping Parents Practice. It's a guide for parents to help parents coach and assist in the practice of their musical practice of their kids. Has applications that go way beyond music, by the way. It's really a fascinating book. Um, but I'd read that book, and one of the things he talks about is the bulk of a child's practice session should be spent doing things that are easy or that can feasibly become easy in the course of the amount of time you're going to spend on them. So you want the kid to be experiencing ease more of the time than not, which to me was just a genius insight, because it's one of the things I have said this in any number of other of ways to my own students. I have coached myself, sort of in an attempt to pursue this or to attain that sense that, like, most of the time my own practice is easy, or I'm doing things that can feasibly become easy. I'm making things easy. But I had never thought of that so just black and white in terms of how to structure a practice for a kid. And it seemed so obvious once I read it. I was like, oh, of course. So we're spending too much time on the hard stuff. We're doing too much stuff that's hard, and that is why we're running out of energy and running out of enthusiasm, running out of the desire to do it. Doing too many hard things is a recipe for not wanting to do them, right? So doing too much hard practice is a recipe for not wanting to practice at all. Okay, so that much I got. But then I was having trouble of getting over the hump, because I had sort of, like, as I got this insight, I changed the way I was working with my daughter. And all of a sudden, I felt like I was ready to do it differently, but she was not so sure at all that anything had changed. Um, and so I was kind of stuck. I was like, well, now we're not doing anything, and that's definitely not too hard. Now the reason we're not doing anything isn't that doing anything at all is too hard. It's that we don't even trust that we can start without it becoming too hard. And I didn't know how to solve that. I really didn't. I was just like, okay. I was just kind of at a loss in a way, and kind of frustrated and sort of not sure. And then today, this is the bolt of lightning. I'm like walking out into the living room to start practice because I had gotten agreement that we would do some practice at a certain time before we did another thing. Anyway, I'm walking out into the living room, and it was like I just the words came out of my mouth. I said, "Hey, hon, we're going to make a list of all the things we do, and then we're going to label whether they're hard or easy." So we did. We made a list of all the different practices we do, everything from listening to exercises to scales to new songs to review songs. We put them all on a list, and then right next to them we put how hard they are. Or I think I made a graph, like I put them in categories of like easy, hard, and super hard. And then we, and then I made a chart on like a whiteboard, and we put little whiteboard labels in each. We wrote each thing on a little like whiteboard note card and stuck it into one of the three categories. And now we had a menu of things to select from, knowing that some of them are easy, some of them are kind of hard, and some of them are super hard. And we were able to just talk about explicitly, the idea is that that more than half the time we're doing things that are easy. Really, it should probably be more like 3/4 of the time, but I figured more than half was a good place to start. More than half the time we want to be doing things that are easy. And as we were doing that whole process, writing our different lists and putting things in categories, I observed, at one point, my daughter spoke up. She was like, "This is fun. I like doing this." It was just giving her joy and I think maybe some relief to be able to name each thing. And because I was just asking her, I was like, "Well, what about this? What about this? What about this?" And having her just name each thing and be able to say, "That's hard. That's hard. That's easy. That's hard." And be able to label for herself how each of those things, what the experience was for her. And then when it came time to actually do, so that took most of the time that we had allocated for practicing. But when it came time to actually doing stuff, it was like we just cruised. We just cruised. And furthermore, this is a little bit of something I suspected she might do. She decided she wanted to do all the hard things first because she likes to get hard things out of the way. So I knew, or at least I suspected that was possibly going to be one of the outcomes, was that by labeling everything and then knowing that when we're choosing something, we're choosing more than just an activity. We're choosing something with a very conscious decision about how it's going to impact our energy and what we want to be able to do with our energy over the course of the whole session. She went right for all the hard stuff. And I was like, well, okay. It was like, but now she was selecting to do those things, and she was choosing for herself to tackle the hard stuff as opposed to me having to kind of, or at least feeling like I had to make sure we did some of the hard stuff in addition to the easy stuff. It was a big shift and it was a really enjoyable thing for me to observe, because it was like, wow, it just changes. It just changed the whole, it reframed the issue, it reframed the problem. And it got really explicit with what our choices involved. And it changed it from like, where I think there might have been previously like she might have felt a hidden agenda on my part to like make her do the hard stuff, because usually that was the stuff that I had to kind of push more, and the easy stuff was easier. Now it was like, by making that, by taking it out of the unspoken realm and making it an explicit, like, look, we've agreed, we've made a chart, and we've even made like a whiteboard where you can go and look, and we've categorized them. And by doing that, it was like, okay, now we agree. Now we're both looking at the same thing. Now my sense of what this experience is isn't different than yours, or at least we've come to some, understanding. And now she gets to choose to do the hard thing or the easy thing based on what she kind of wants. And it just felt really, really positive. Felt like a step forward. Felt like that reframing process was really, really valuable. And I it's funny because I know this from myself. I've observed this in myself any number of times, that I have the same inner mechanics that she does. If I think I'm going to be forced through too much difficulty, I'll avoid the thing altogether. And usually my impression is erroneous, and the action of not doing the thing, not dealing with the apparently hard thing, is kind of a waste of time. It takes me down it amounts to procrastination in the end of the day. It's like, I know I have to do this at some point, right? And I am actually equipped to do it. I'm just not. It masquerades as laziness. It's not really laziness. It's more of an excess of internal friction, and possibly a history of overexertion that comes back as a felt sense of caution and fear around even going there. So it felt like a lot of dominoes kind of, I don't know if that's the right image, but a lot of pennies dropped today. So anyway, that's where I am today, folks. Really helpful to reframe a problem and make it really clear what the choices are. It can open things up in a whole new way. So that's where I'm at today. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.